Ah. Oh hey, you're back. So I'm still getting a hang of things, but I'd like to do another Let's Draw a Character. I hope you guys will join me and learn something. You don't have to, but if you do, then that's awesome. So let's jump right into it. Oh, howdy guys. So, you know when you want to draw something but you just can't seem to get the pose right? Yeah, so this is what I ran into with this drawing. I was testing out a few poses but they just weren't working out. Honestly though, they were looking a little janky. This is a lesson I want to impart on you. On a previous post, I mentioned how I usually do a few passes for my compositions. I try to draw from imagination as much as I can, but sometimes you just need a reference. So I took some photos of myself to try to capture the angle I was trying to draw. As embarrassing as it is, I'll go ahead and pop them on screen for you guys now to see. Sexy. Anyway, I was doing my best to try to make it come out looking like the picture. But good lord was it looking disgusting. Nicely put, it wasn't dynamic enough. This is what happens to me when I try to use a photo reference, but this is because I always use a photo reference wrong. I focus too much on making it look exactly like the reference, but I don't use my artistic license to make it look like what I want it to feel like. So this is what I'm sharing with you. If you do find yourself using a photo reference, use it loosely. Exaggerate everything. Angle, proportion, color. It'll do you a world of difference. Now, if we're talking about me and how I mess up so badly, let's not worry about that. We're here to talk about you guys and how you guys can progress at y'all's progress. So once I finally have a pose I like, we're gonna go ahead and pop up a new layer and start a final sketch pass. Now, you might be able to tell that some of the shapes are just a little on the janky side and definitely need some cleanup. Anyway, here I'm looking at the bigger shapes I've created for the suit, but I'm beginning to refine the basic shapes I have, adding detail and filling in parts that didn't quite exist before. You can see that I'm adding indentations for lights, edges to create thickness, separation into armor, and rounding out bits that are perhaps a bit too squared off. You may notice that while I'm doing this, I have the line settings to be a bit thick and chunky. I believe this drawing was done on a 1920 by 1080 canvas with a 10 pixel brush. This is because I allow myself to use a bigger brush for sketching in order to help me see the overall shapes a bit better without focusing too much on detail. As an artist, I know this can be a bit of a hurdle. It can be easy to fall into the trap of rushing into detail too quickly. Unless you're very skilled at recalling information precisely and easily, artists like Kim Jong-gi come to mind, then I'd suggest working with larger basic forms and slowly carving out details until they become finer and finer. I hate saying this, but trust me, I know it can feel like perhaps a bit too tedious and maybe like a few extra steps, but you'll just have to trust the process. With time, you'll develop a sense of form, gesture, and detail, and you'll better be able to recall what you're trying to create with more ease and comfort. So you might also notice that things are flipping all over the place. This is because I rotated the canvas plenty of times. Don't think that you need to keep the canvas rectilinear. Your arms and eyes want to draw in a certain way, so allow yourself the liberty to do so. So check it. On Krita, the hotkeys for rotation are the numbers 4, 5, and 6, and the hotkey for flipping the canvas is the letter M. I don't recall if this is a setup I customized myself, but whatever your hotkey preferences are, stick with those. Anyway, when I feel I've gotten to a good point in the sketch, and I have all the bits that I need, I can move on to the inking phase. Here, once again, I'll open up a new layer, but lower the thickness of my lines, and I'll additionally attach another layer to our line layer that will function to color our lines. This can be easily done by just clicking the little alpha button, just the one that looks like a little lowercase a, in the layer panel. Now I know what you're thinking, that makes no sense, but if you guys would like, this is something I can go into further detail in another lesson, so feel free to comment if this is something you think you'd find helpful. Anyway, the goal of our inking layers will be to have the lines be as clean as possible, while still maintaining a sense of what we liked about our sketch. I know it can sometimes be very hard to keep the vibe of certain lines, especially when transitioning from a sketch to our final artwork. One of the things I love about sketching is that I can be more free and fluid with my lines, and with this comes a more instinctual sense of line movement. This can be very easily lost in translation when you have to clean things up. I've had plenty of times when my supposed final drawing looked less dynamic and uglier than my original sketch, and it just drove me nuts. So this is where you may find yourself drawing lines on top of the sketch over and over again. I'm sure a lot of you already know how many times it can take to draw a satisfying line that just feels right. For me, it's no different. You can see that sometimes I feel the need to draw a line a million times until it finally looks good to me. It's torture and so grating, but it's gotta be done. You may also notice that I personally like adding little dashes of lines on edges or curves. It's kind of become a bit of a habit for me, and it honestly kind of helps me cheat, helps me add detail in very basic ways without overthinking it. So let's take a step back and talk about Samus for a bit. Honestly, I remember first learning about Samus because of her appearance in Super Smash Bros. Yes, the OG one, where in the commercial, they're like walking through a field and then suddenly Mario just knees Yoshi in the knees? Ahem. Yes, that one. Even then, I didn't know Samus was a girl, but I soon found out she came from a game called Metroid. And being a fan of side-scrollers and Metroidvanias, I was happy to learn that this is part of the reason this term even existed. I shot into action and played the first 3 games with all their cryptid hidden mess, and god damn it, they were so good! If you haven't played these classics, definitely give them a go. Alright, so where were we? Okay, we're adding color now. Okay, so my coloring process is always a bit all over the place and often changes drastically as I find better ways to show what I'm trying to do. We'll start off by adding our basic color infill. I like choosing a basic to mid light tone color for infills, but I give myself the liberty to mess with the colors later down the road. For a lighting effect like the one I will be adding for the arm cannon, I like adding a gradient over the colors and setting its opacity to a very low 20 or 30%. After I fill in the character, I like laying down a layer of shading. For this, I like setting a new layer above our last one and set the layer style to either soft light or multiply. For the color, I like choosing a darker blue or red that is closer to black but not quite. Since I know the lighting will come from the cannon, I can also lay in a highlight layer. With the peach color selected, I can begin coloring in the bright spots. For this layer, you can also set the style to soft light or overlay. To help me see the lightness of the colors a bit better, I like filling in the background with a color that is indicative of the lighting conditions that I will have. Here I imagine some dark catacombs where danger lurks, so I fill it in with dark blue. This automatically tells me that the colors are way too bright. With this being the case, I can go to my color layer and adjust the lightness and bring it down to something more acceptable. From here, I can begin working on the blast emanating from the cannon. Now for this, I open up a new layer and set a layer effect of outer glow. I select a white color brush and a blue for the color of a glow. This will give the effect of a bright flash. And just like that, we have a cool glowing charge ready to go. For the helmet visor, I duplicated the layer but changed the color of the glow to a green to help match it a bit better. As you can see, altogether, not bad. Is what I thought. But after a few days, I thought, no, I can definitely do better, I think. So I jumped back into it. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was ready for anything. Right off the bat, I wanted more glowy bits, so I filled in more bits with some glowies. Simple as that. Nice. After that, I thought some atmosphere would be nice, so I drew in some smoke in the foreground and background and blurred it just a bit. But then, like a bomb going off, and how appropriate, I decided to add a gradient circle of white light to my scene, and because the lighting still looked off to me, I shot some color back into it by adding a layer of red and setting it to overlay. And this really helped bring out some warm tones, even if it wasn't true to life. I still liked it because it just helped pop things out just a bit more. Overall, I think it came together in the end. To think I was about to call it quit after my first round of color. I am so satisfied with having retouched it and having it come out the way it did, because honestly, when I came back to it, I wasn't completely happy with it. And I really felt it needed some adjustments, even if I didn't know how. But yeah, this is the completed work. I know it isn't perfect, I know I'm still progressing, and I'm pretty okay with that fact. All things considered, I hope you guys enjoyed drawing with me. If there was anything that I overlooked that you'd like for me to focus on in another video, please let me know. And as well, if you have something you'd like me to draw, please leave a comment and like on this video. I'd love to draw with you guys again. If you'd like to follow my work, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can find me under the name kidsuperpunch. There you can follow anything I'm working on and any behind the scenes I may post. Thanks for drawing with me. See you guys in another video. Later.